All right, so once again, you are welcome to the IELTS Reading Practice section organized by Unified Nurses. We'll be considering and someone, I need to mute someone there. Can we mute our... Okay. So please mute your microphone there. So today we'll be considering topic sentence identification, MCQs, yes, no, not given, and list of headings. And feel free to let me know if you have any question at all. So I'm going to share my screen now, a new screen. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my two PDF pages now, reading passage 3 and the other one showing the question. Am I right, please?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, beautiful. So I have selected this passage, reading passage 3 from Cambridge IELTS 15, and this is test 4. So I will be considering question 32 to 40 first initially, then we can move on to Cambridge 10. Okay, so question 32 to 40 is a form. It consists of, it's majorly MCQ questions, but the questions would lead us to identifying what topic sentences are in IELTS passages. Someone is raising our hands. Eunice, please, can I know why you are raising up your hand very quickly? Is everything all right? Okay, so I'll move on since there was no response from Eunice. So this passage is talking about environmental practices of big businesses. So question 32 to 40, so 32 to 34 are MCQs, then 35 to 39, yes, no, not given, and question 40 is just looking for information from the paragraph. So this same passage had some questions initially, which I'm not considering because usually people don't have issue with this type of question, filling the gap. But if you do, we can still discuss that, but that is not within the scope of this class today. So we're at question 32 to 34. Are we together, please? Are we together, please?
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay, so question 32 says the instruction, choose the correct letter A, B, C, D. Write the correct letter in the box provided in answer sheet. So you just have to write 32A, 33B, 34B, whatsoever the answers are. So also in the written passage instruction, you should spend 20 minutes on 27 to 40. Okay, so but like I said, 32 to 30 to 40, that's what we are considering from this passage. So the 30, question 32 says the main idea of the third paragraph is that mental damage is so. Now, most candidates are already tired when you come to passage 3. And I think in most cases, people say it is hard, difficult, or whatsoever. It all depends on your capacity, your comprehension, and all that. But then, because it is the last one, they might put list of headings there, can make it difficult for people. So what you don't want to do is to waste time on the initial ones, looking for right answers, and then you have limited time and you're rushing when you get to reading passage 3. But this page is not that complex, I must say. So for you to definitely, you are going to quickly skim through this passage So I say, okay, the passage is all about environmental practices of big businesses. I read sentence 1, 2, and the last in every paragraph, just for me to identify what the writer is talking about. So the environmental practices of big businesses are shaped by a fundamental fact that many of us offend our sense of justice. Okay, depending on the circumstances, a business will maximize the amount of money it makes, at least, so make profit, which could be at the expense of the environment. Okay, and also people. The last part, say when government regulation is effective and the public is environmentally aware, environmentally clean business may outcompete dirty ones, blah, blah, blah. So at least I have an idea of what that place is saying. It is easy for the rest of us to blame business for helping itself by hurting other people. So, but blaming alone is unlikely to produce change. I'll quickly move on to the last things there. So the car manufacturer, talking about Henry Ford, this is just an example. So I'm not going to dwell on examples. I'll move on. It is examples are usually buttressing whatsoever the topic sentence is. So paragraph 3 says, our blaming of businesses also ignores the ultimate responsibility of the public creating the conditions that let a business profit. So right away, I know that place is talking about responsibilities, that we also have responsibility as the public. So we come back to what that means. Then 4, it says the public can do by suing the businesses. So part of the responsibility they talk about here that the public has, part of the way they can do it is by suing businesses for harming them, blah, blah, blah. So I know that is likely what this paragraph is all about. So in turn, so moving on away from what people could do. Sorry, the passage is not that clear, but I hope you can see it. Sorry, it's just it can help us to identify a few things. That's why I picked it. In turn, can we mute our okay? So in turn, big businesses can exert powerful pressure on any supplier that might ignore public or now. I know big businesses can also do something. The public task is therefore to identify which links in supply chain are sensitive to, okay? So some readers may be disappointed or outraged that I place the ultimate responsibility for business practices on the public itself. So, but I think we have to recognize that throughout human history, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, I'm just trying to understand what is, so you don't have to dwell so much on it, but because this is we are trying to, this is still a coaching section. So to me, the conclusion is very important that the public has the ultimate responsibility for the behavior of even the biggest businesses in empowering and hopeful rather than disappointing. I predict that in the future, just as in the past, changes in public attitude will be essential for changes in business environmental practices. So now the reason why I've taken my time to go through, to skim through is because it can help me in case the passage didn't talk about main idea in so paragraph. If it is just an MCQ question that I need to look for which paragraph it belongs to, you have to do this. But you wouldn't have done that if you look at the question and it's saying the main idea of the third paragraph, in the fourth paragraph, what pressure was exerted by. So basically, you don't need to skim through this passage, honestly, in an examination condition. You don't need to waste so much time on as I've just done, okay? But because to answer question 32 to 34, but because you still need the idea to answer the rest of the question under it. So either way, you are going to still have to comprehend it to some extent. So whatever you choose to do depends on how well you think you can go about it, okay? So having said that, let's answer the question. This is paragraph 3. The main idea of the third paragraph is that environmental damage, So in MCQ, the top tip is that you have to consider in any question type, you have to consider whether it is safe for you to read the question first, read the passage before the options. Three things now: the question, the options, the passage. For any question types you have at all, you have to look for which one will be more advantageous for you to read first and concentrate on. Now, in MCQ, ultimately, you have to understand what the question is saying, understand what the passage is all about, then look for the option that looks like it, because you have to cross out every one of them, one after the other. It's just like saying, is A true? Is B true? Is C true? Is D true? So in this case, what is the main idea of third paragraph? The main idea of third paragraph, what is it? One thing you can do is to read through this paragraph and give it a meaning for yourself. So don't forget that I talked about this passage will help us to still go through our last section when I talked about identifying the topic sentence very quickly and confidently. So our blaming of businesses, if you have your answer for this question, you can put it in the chat so that I see, because I've been talking too much on it. So you can type that in, I'll look at it. So now I'll walk us through how I would pick this answer. Our blaming of businesses also ignores the ultimate public for creating the condition that let a business profit through destructive environmental policies. That place says that our blaming of businesses also ignore, it talks about the ultimate responsibility of the public. That is, the public have the capacity and the ultimate responsibility of the public. The public has the capacity to create conditions that will make a business to profit through their destructive policies. Okay, that is, it is the responsibility of public if any company that has destructive environmental policy will still be in business. Okay, in the long run, it is the public, either directly, so it is still the public, either directly or through its politician, that has the power. So the public has the power to make such destructive policies unprofitable and illegal. Okay, so if a business has destructive policies, the public has the capacity, the power to make that company look unprofitable at the end of the day and illegal. And also they can make sustainable environmental policies profitable. I don't know if you understand what this writer is saying. So now the main idea here, is it that environmental damage requires political action if it is to be stopped? Are we together?
Yes.
All right.
So,
Okay. Let me see if people have typed in their answers already. Okay, good. Let me see. Okay, people have said it is A. It is okay. All right. Oh.
The answer is negative 5, right?
So just hold on. So the main idea is that environmental damage requires political action if it is to be stopped. Now I understand where you are coming from, but don't forget that that is not really the point. The topic sentence in this passage is that the ultimate responsibility, that the public have ultimate responsibility, if I were to twist it, and also here, it's still the same thing. So the public have responsibility for creating conditions that led, so the public has power to let a business profit, okay? So the public can do something, okay, to stop environmental damage at the end of the day, in the long run, okay? So we all know that it requires political action if it has to be stopped, because they say either directly or through politicians, okay? But that is not the main idea. It is just one of the ideas, okay? The environmental damage is the result of ignorance, on the part of the public. Now, I'm saying, could this be this one? Number one, because it talks about ignores, okay? I'm thinking like you now. I'm not jumping into the answer, okay? Our blaming of businesses also ignores, so probably environmental damage is the result of ignorance on the part of the public. Now, also, environmental damage could be prevented by the action of ordinary people. So I'm saying, very good. Now, environmental damage can be stopped by educating business leaders. I'm sure you and I agree that we have crossed out A and D. Okay, now leaving us with this. Now, let me tell you one thing. If you are still picking A or D, you have to really work on yourself more. So if your answer is within B and C, okay, I'll say, oh, yeah, you are getting there. All right. Okay. Let me see what people have. Yeah. So it's still B. Majority of people still said it's B. Okay. Now, but let's look at, let me give you a tip. The fact that I don't know what to pick between B or C, but the fact that they leave something here, a word, I am going to consider that ignorance, this ignorance, initially as someone experiencing eye health, I'm going to consider this as a, how do we call it now? Like a pit. Like they want me to fall into picking this answer, if you get what I mean, okay? I'm going to consider this as, because what I'm looking for is not synonyms, it's not the same word in the passage, okay? I'm looking for something that represents the meaning of paragraph 3. Are we together, please? So if I were to be in examination and I don't have any other thing that can prove that either B or C is the answer, honestly, I'll go with C, because I'll consider B as like they want me to just fall for that word, okay, like most people have done. Now, going back to what does this paragraph mean? It wasn't really about the ignorance of the people. Our blaming of businesses, it ignores the fact that it undertone, it diminished the power and the fact that the ultimate responsibility, that is the public, can do something in preventing environmental damage in the long run. Honestly, that is what this place is saying. People have power, ability to do. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Can you talk now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So answer is C. Why? Because this passage is not, environmental damage, according to the paragraph, is not the result of ignorance on the part of the public. It is because if it were to be ignorance on the part of the public, they would have mentioned public awareness. I'll tell you I'll show you something about public awareness. Okay. In paragraph 1. Oh, sorry. I'll have to clear my annotate. I'm trying to look for where they talk about knowledge, awareness, and all that. I'm sure there's a place here while I was reading that they talked about that. But paragraph 3 is literally telling us that, come on, people ignore the fact that they have the power to ultimately prevent these environmental damages caused by the businesses. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? That is no, okay? So now your answer is between B and C, nor A nor D. And that is what you do. So you are looking for the same meaning as a passage and not a word that looks like it. Okay, the main idea in the third paragraph is that people have the power to make environments clean by doing what? By doing down out, making sure that businesses who are not how do I put it now? Who are not environmentally friendly, making sure that they're out of business, you know. So now let me show you again why, if you are confused between B and C, what you can also do. Don't forget, I've talked about the first tip you can use is that once you see that they lift a word from the passage, be careful of that. Once you see that they lift a word like ignores and they talk about ignorance, be careful of that. One more thing you can do is to go back to what they have to say in the next paragraph. Okay, the next one said that the public can do that by suing them. So now, what do you think? Can this place be talking about the ignorance of the public? Can B be talking about the ignorance of the public and still say that the public can do what? Public can prevent okay, by suing business. Do you get me? Okay? The public can do what? Which that stand for the whole idea of this passage itself. All right? So you have a chance of listening to going through this thing again. Okay? So that is part of, if you are confused, you can look at what the passage, the paragraph before and the one next you have to say. And that will tell you that, can lead you even to the answer here. Anyway, I'll move on. In 33, I'll clear everything here. 33, in the fourth paragraph, the writer prescribed ways in which the public can. Okay, so in fourth paragraph, the writer describes the way the public can. So now, be very quick, probably very quick for us to answer. What does paragraph 4 have to say? The public can do that by doing business for harming them, as happened. This is an example. Okay. The public may also make their opinion felt by preferring to buy sustainably harvested product, okay, by making examples, blah, 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 blah. Now, okay. So what this place is talking about, we can, as the public, we can start by patronizing companies with sustainable, environmental friendly ideas and policies. Okay, that is essentially what this is saying. By preferring their government to award value contract businesses with a good environmental track record, by pressing government to pass and enforce laws and regulations requiring good environmental practices. So these are what the public can do to prevent environmental damages. So let's look at the options. The writer describe ways in which the public can reduce their own individual impact on the environment. Would that be true? Will that be true? No. That's no. Okay. So this is no. That's not what we are talking about. The writer describes ways in which the public can learn more about the impact of business on the environment. No, that's not what we are talking about. Raise awareness on the effect of specific environmental disaster. Influence the environmental policy of businesses and government. What do you think the answer is? How do I know? It's all everywhere here. Raise on the effects of environmental disaster is a subset of this effort, influencing environmental policies of businesses and government environment. Don't forget last time, when we are talking about identifying key main idea in a paragraph, one thing to also watch out for are supporting ideas.
Okay.
A subset of the main idea. Okay, so where do we get the main thing here? Public can do this by blah blah blah. Also make their opinion felt by preferring to buy. They can do this. Employees feel ashamed of their company. They can complain to their management by preferring their government to award this and this. Okay, by pressing their government to pass and enforce laws. You know, this is quite straightforward. Okay, so that is the public can influence the environmental policies of business and government. Okay, that's clear, right? Then question 34 says, what pressure, so now, was exerted by big business? I'm underlying big business because there could be also pressure from the public and all that. Now, case of disease BSc. So now, the only thing that cannot change, there is a word that cannot change in this question. That is this is BSc. There is no way they can't change BSc in the. So I'm literally looking for BSc in the in the passage. So sorry, it's not very clear, but just bear with me. So this is BSc. Where are you? Okay. Now this is BSc. So this is it. So in turn, after discussing what the public can do, the big businesses can also exert, now very clear, what pressure was exerted by big business in the case. So they can exert powerful pressure on any supplier by ignoring government pressure. For instance, so about the spread of this disease. Okay. Okay, but now after the government have passed the law, but for 5 years packers refused to follow the law, claiming that they would be too expensive for whatever reason. When a major, now, this is where, hold on, please. Now, this is where, regarding this is BSc, this is where the main point is. Hold on, please. Okay, now, this is just a general thing the business can do, how they can exert pressure. This is general thing. But regarding this is BSc, okay, what a big business did was this. Don't forget, they didn't follow the government regulation. But when a major fast food company, that's a big business, this is major, this is big, and this is a business, then made the same demand after customer purchases of it, this so method, that is when the sales drop. Okay. All right, this is where we are coming to. So what pressure was exerted by big business in the case of this? Meat packers stopped supplying hamburgers to fast food chains. Is that it? No. A fast food company forced their meat suppliers to follow the law. That looks like it. Meat packers persuaded the government to reduce their expenses. No. A fast food company encouraged the government to introduce legislation. No. So now look at these two. A fast food, we know there was a fast food, but what did the fast food company? So we came in, then made the same demands after. So what was the demand? Okay. Demanding that the meat industry abandon practices associated with this. So what they did was to force their meat suppliers to follow the law. They didn't just ask the government, there was a legislation on ground already, okay? So what this fast food company did was to force that their suppliers follow the law, okay? So very quickly, you can see you must have gained one way to deal with MCQs here. First of all, look at which one would you, usually you must understand the passage itself, the meaning of wherever paragraph or passage you want to pick your answers from. First of all, you must understand it. Secondly, you must know what the question is talking about, okay? It will be very wasteful of your time if you start by considering the options one after the other. Okay, let me see. For instance, it would be a waste of our time if we just read this. The main idea of third paragraph is that, and we are looking for whether this information A is in the paragraph, we are looking for whether information B is in the paragraph, information C is in the paragraph, information D is in the paragraph. No, that would be a waste of our time. What you want to do is to check the question, okay, the third paragraph, okay, so and then you understand what the whole paragraph is talking about, then go and choose, go and choose what the answer will be by crossing out which one might not be the answer, okay, picking the right one, and confidently recording that in your answer sheet, okay? And that is exactly what we have done for every of the passage. Are we together, please?
Yes, sir.
So
We're with you.
okay, good.
Yes, sir. That's together.
If I'm too slow, please just tell me to move on in the chat, please. Okay. All right, I'll move on to the next question type, which is in 35 to 39. Okay. Now, the good thing about whatsoever, I'm sure you know that you can actually come and do question 35 to 39 first, if you feel more comfortable with that, okay? But
Yeah.
what you are doing, you must understand a bit of the passage. By skimming through the passage, immediately you receive the passage, you skim, you know where those things are. Or another way you can do that is to quickly look at your questions. Yeah, I would advise that you use this. Quickly look at your questions because your strategy will vary for each question type. So look at your question. Oh, asking me true, false, not given. You quickly say, okay, what are they talking about? The public. Hold on, I'll look at this. I want to. Okay, no, that's not what I want to do. So, oh yeah. So now, assuming this is just a yes, no, not given passage, the question is just yes, no, not given. So I'll take the passage even before going through it, because it is not a list of headings, or I need to really understand I might not even skim through, okay? So, but I will come and look at this first. The public, okay, where are they talking about? The public should prepare to fund. So fund, are they talking about fund anywhere? Okay, good environmental practices. Is there a contrast between the moral principles? So where did they talk about moral principles? Okay. Is it important? Is it important to make clear distinction between acceptable and accept? So behavior, okay. The public has successfully, as the public successfully influenced businesses in the past, not now, not in the future. Now this is in the future. Businesses show more concern for the environment? So assuming this is a true, false, not given question, I may not even have to skim through the passage first. I will come to the question, note what I'm looking for, and now start skimming through the passage. Okay? Start skimming through the passage now because I'm looking for what I've annotated, what I've noted down. All right. So now, let's just answer this question. The instruction says it is yes if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer. Okay, it is no, it is only no if the statement contradicts the claims of the writer. It is impossible, it is not given if it is impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. Now, the only difference between true, false, not given and yes, no, not given is because in yes, no, not given, it is the writer's opinion, okay? While in true, false, not given, it is just a statement of fact, okay? And you want to agree with that or not. So, question 35. The public should be prepared to fund good environmental practices, okay? And I'm asking myself, did I ever come across something like that earlier on? Okay, I'm going to look for where the passage I've talked about that. Now the answer does not come in order. So you can find question to 35 in the last paragraph, and the next one is before it. Okay. Sound environmental practices. Okay. So I think I'm almost there. This place talk about, yeah, so it will be here, sound environmental practices. Sorry, I still have to be muting people. Please let us mute our audio, except you want to talk, please. So I've seen sound environmental practices, which is good environmental practices. So I'm looking for whether there is a cost. I also believe that the public must accept the necessity of cost. Okay, there is a cost there. My view may seem to ignore the belief that businesses should act. Okay, so I would limit my, so I've scanned for the answer now. So I also believe that the public must accept. So the public must accept the necessity for higher prices for product to cover for the added cost, if any, of sound environmental practices. So the writer is, so you have to understand what the writer has said, and you then go back whether the statement agrees, whether this statement agrees with what the writer has said, whether it contradicts it, or whether it is impossible. So in case of question 35, it will be yes. If there is a statement in the passage that talk about the public should be prepared to finance, okay, to pay, okay, something to have good environmental practices. This place is just talking about some opportunist cost. The public should be ready to pay more. Okay, so if there's a sentence like that in the passage, it will be yes. Okay, it will be no if the writer said that the public shouldn't worry about paying more to afford good environmental practices. If the writer have said it is not the responsibility of the public, okay, and unrelated to how much they are to be paid, but businesses should do something about protecting the environment, okay, that would be no. And it will be not given if it is impossible to say that what the writer thinks about this. So from all I have said, you will agree with me that this is a yes. I also believe the writer thinks that the public must be ready to pay more for products if necessary, okay? If necessary for them to have sound environmental practices. All right? So for products who are doing well regarding protecting the environment, the public must be ready to pay more, to fund. So that's the same thing, to fund, okay? All right, you agree with me?
Yes.
All right, beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to move on to something different. So question 36. There is a contrast between the moral principles of different businesses. There is a contrast, okay? Like something opposite between the moral principle, okay? So the writer talk about moral principles of different businesses. I think where we can find something like that is in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
The environmental practices of big businesses are shaped. Hold on, please. Come on. Environmental practices of big businesses are shaped by a fundamental fact that for many of us offends our sense of justice. So the environmental practices of these businesses are shaped by the fact that a business wants to make money, okay, probably. So depending on the circumstance, the business may maximize the amount of money it makes, at least in the short term, by damaging the environment and hurting people. Okay. So then it went to an example. So if there is anything about the moral principles of different businesses, it should be here. All right. So as the writer talked about the moral principle, so the environmental practices of big businesses are shaped by fundamental fact. They are shaped, okay, fundamental fact. Okay, we can leave this out. It's just, so it's a fundamental fact. The environmental principles, practices of big businesses are shaped by fundamental fact. Okay, that is what this place says. Has it said anything about there's a contrast between the moral principles of different businesses? So it would be yes. If the statement in this place says the environmental practices of big businesses differs from one another, something like that, it will be no. If it says that there is just one, there's just one way businesses think when it's come to environmental practices, something like that, okay? But it says there is a contrast between the moral principles of different businesses. I don't think we have enough information to make that decision, honestly. Or what do you think? Oh, what do you think, people?
Hello.
Hello, what do you think?
Not given.
Not given. Oh, some
Well
people
done,
have even
sir.
responded. See? Oh,
I think
good.
the answer is not in
I think
paragraph one.
the information is not given.
It's not in
Passage.
paragraph one.
I know. Okay,
I
I'm
think we
with
can
you.
go back to the
We can
previous
continue.
paragraph. The paragraph
Hello?
where we got the answer to 35. We should go back to that paragraph.
Oh,
I think
really?
the last,
That's
yeah.
Ah, good.
Yes, let's
Yes.
go back.
Oh, thank you. Let me go back. Let me go back. Where did we get that from? The public should be prepared to fund. Sorry, just hold on for me. Okay, here, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say la 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 la. Oh yes,
The second to the last. The second to the last.
The last sentence, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the second to the last sentence there.
Okay, so let me.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is just messing. Where are you? Okay, all right. My view may seem to ignore the belief, blah blah blah. Okay, moral principle, right?
Yes.
That businesses should act in accordance with moral principles, even if this leads to a reduction in their. Okay, my view may seem to ignore the belief. So there's a belief that businesses should act in accordance with moral principles, even if this leads to a reduction in their profit, right?
Yeah, let's continue reading.
But I think we have to recognize that blah 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 political. Not only did moral principle need to be made explicit, they also needed to be enforced. Okay, so there's a contrast between the moral principles of different businesses. So still, none of these have talked about whether there's a contrast between,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that out. Yes, let's quickly move on to 37. It says it is important to make a clear distinction between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Where can we find this?
That should be in paragraph 1.
Okay, let's. What about here? What about here?
Business have changed.
In the past, business have changed and came to expect and require different behavior. Okay.
I can't keep. In the process, businesses have changed when the public came to experience. Stay in the car.
Hold on. I'll clear everything. Clear all drawings. Okay, so the question says it is important to make a clear distinction between acceptable. So we are looking for what is acceptable behaviors, really, whether there's a clear distinction at all, whether the writer talk about it is important or not important. Okay, so I will, yeah, I think it's the same place where we got the answer from. Okay, so I'll move back down where you talk about explicit or something like that. Okay, so hold on, I'm trying to pick my, okay, all right. Okay. Right? So because it was found, not only did moral principles need to be made explicit, they also need to be enforced. I'm looking for where behavior is again. The public came to expect and require different behavior. No. This looks more like it, but we'll still move forward. Where else do we see anything like
Let's check paragraph C.
I think that is where it is.
C.
Paragraph 3, right?
Let's check.
No, this is paragraph 3.
Okay, 3.
This is paragraph 3. Nothing like that. I think that was when it is still the place where it was talking about making it explicit and all that. Okay. Right. I don't know why people are drawing on it. Okay, so I think we have to recognize that throughout human history, in all political complex human societies, government regulation have risen because it was found that not only did moral principle need to be made explicit, so moral principle need to be made clear. Okay. They also needed to be enforced. Okay. Now, here also my conclusion is not a moralistic one about what is right, wrong, admirable, selfish. Okay, that is also something about behavior. Me, the conclusion that the public has the ultimate responsibility for the behavior of even the biggest is empowering. My conclusion is not a moralistic one about who is right. Okay, do you understand here now? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, are we still on question 37?
Yes, that's where we are.
Okay, I think we have to be very conscious of synonyms. Looking at the question, talking about acceptable and unacceptable behavior, and they
Yes,
are right,
yes.
and they were showing right or wrong.
Yes, yes.
Admirable.
That's it.
Yeah. And most of IELTS questions that I've attempted, when it comes to true, false, not giving, when it comes to true, false, not giving, yes, no, not giving, they follow the order of the paragraph. Like where you find question 36, you go down to
Oh,
look
bless
for
you, bless you, bless you, bless you. Thank you, thank you.
You don't go back. You
Yeah,
follow
yeah, yeah.
if
Thank
you
you.
go
That is
back,
it.
you're not going to get it. So 37 is going to come. Answer
Yes,
to question 37 is going to come after the question 36.
yes, that is.
And
Thank
I
you.
think, yeah. So please, let's look at that.
Yeah, thank you. So that is, we find there's a contrast between 36. We said not given, okay. Then 37 will definitely yes, because they also know that yes, no, not given, true, false, not given is very confusing if you have to look at the passage itself. Okay, so you don't have to jump from one place to another to look for the answer. So we find the answer to 35 here. Okay, so you expect that the answer to 36 will be below here. Okay, it can be in the same paragraph, but it's after this one. Okay, and then 37, you expect it to be definitely here after 36. Okay, and then 38, which talked about in the future. That's is very clear. So this place talks about it is important to make a clear distinction between acceptable, this is acceptable, and unacceptable behavior, so which is right or wrong. Now, my conclusion is not a moralistic one about who is right. So this writer is saying it is not important to say what is right or wrong, okay? So that brings us to say that this is a no, okay? This would be a no, all right? So moving on to question 38, the public have successfully influenced businesses in the past. So what you can also do to make sure that you have answered the question correctly, the previous one. Now the question 38 says, in the past, okay, so that means the answer to 37 definitely will come before this one, okay? So in the past, businesses have changed when the public came to expect and require different behavior. So this is where in the past, businesses have changed. So the public have successfully influenced businesses in the past. I believe that is also straightforward, right? So that would be
Is a yes.
yes.
Is a
All
yes.
right. Okay, now in the future, businesses will show, so definitely you're looking at in the future. So, and they mentioned here that I predict that in the future, so this is where our answer will be.
Yes.
Businesses will show more concern for the environment. So, did the writer talk about that? Will business show, so it is yes, if the writer said businesses will show more concern to the environment, or they will be much more, they will make more environmentally friendly policies. That's what this place means. But if it says, I predict that they are not going to make something you know, there's not going to be a difference. No, but let's look at what it says. I predict that in the future, just in the past. So it will be a no if business will worsen, the way they do business will worsen the environment, okay? But it says just as in the past, changes in public attitude will be essential, okay, for changes in business environment practices. So this place is talking about what the public will do. Just as in the past, changes in public attitude will be essential for changes in business environmental practices. But it didn't talk about whether businesses are going to be more friendly, they are going to be less friendly, blah, blah, blah. So this one brings us to not given. So this would be not given. Okay. Are we still together?
Yeah.
So one.
Yes, we have, sir. But that last question, I don't really understand.
All right.
This last one, 39.
13. Oh, well, it's very simple. It's 39. Okay. 39.
Yes.
In the future, right?
Yes.
Forget this just as in the past. It's as good as saying in the future, changes in public attitudes will be essential for changes in business environmental practices. So what the writer is saying is that there must be a change in the way the public perceive that the fact that they have power, okay, to influence that the environmental damage any company is going to make, okay, the kind of practices they're going to make, whether good or bad, it is still in how the public perceive it, whether they are ready to enforce them and enforce their government to not just make policies, but to also enforce them. Do you get what I mean? This is what the writer is saying. Now, you now go back, after understanding what the writer has said, you now go back to your question. Businesses will show more concern
for the environment.
For the environment. Now, it will be yes. It will be yes. It will be yes if this writer has made mention of something like that. It will be no if the writer has said, I predict that businesses are going to be even worse than in the past in their environmental practices. That would have been no. But now it says more concern. The writer didn't say anything about that, honestly. It is impossible for us to say that things about whether they are going to be more or less concerned about the future. All we know about is that in the future, it is still people's attitude that will determine the environmental practices of businesses. Did we get that? Okay. So literally, don't forget again that in true, false, not given, the false, not given, yes, no, not given, you can see how that tip alone threw us off point. Okay. Hold on. The answers are in order. So once you find to one, you can literally find the others. You agree with me that the question 35 to 39, the answers are here. Paragraph, whatsoever it is, to this one, the last two paragraphs, that's where the answers are. So they also know that you don't have all the time to understand the whole passage. So just that tips alone will save you going back and forth, okay, and looking for answers where they are not. Okay. All right, so let's go to question 40 because I still want to talk about one more thing. Question 40. Choose the correct letter. This thing looks like like an MCQ, like finding paragraph information, and also like list of headings, something like that. Like you are just looking for the passage itself. What is the main idea of the writer? So this question is asking us what the main idea of the writer is. So what would be the best of heading for this passage? The first thing I'm going to ask myself is, what is the heading? Environmental practices of big businesses. What would have been a very good subheading for this passage? So is it environmental practices of big businesses with the word survive the threats that caused by big businesses? Environmental practices of big businesses. How can big businesses be encouraged to be less driven by profit? Is it environmental practices of big businesses? What environmental dangers are caused by greed of businesses? Environmental practices of big businesses. Are big businesses to blame for the damage they cause to the environment? I want to hear us without even applying so many tips at all. What do you think the answer to this question is? I would like to take our responses first. Then just chat to everyone.
I'll go for D.
I'll go for D.
Yeah.
Okay. So the answer is D, because all the writer have talked about is basically the responsibility of the public. Okay, so you shouldn't have gone all the way reading through this passage and you can't answer question D, question 40, because the options are not even that confusing. So we have read about everything in the passage. The whole idea of the writer is that there is a public neglect. The public are not doing something they have to do. Are big businesses to blame for the damage they cause the environment? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to, any question regarding this passage at all? Any question regarding this passage? You can leave a chat, you can talk about it. Because I still want to quickly look at list of headings just for that's what most people have said is most confusing. So, and then we can still finish by 6 at most. Oof. Any question at all? You can as well just tell me no question.
No questions.
No question.
No question for now.
Quite clear. Okay. Now let's go to Cambridge IELTS. Go to Cambridge IELTS then.
Let's move on.
Go to Cambridge IELTS then. Okay. You can still see my screen, right? Test 3, Cambridge IELTS 10.
No question.
Oh, I closed it. Sorry. Cambridge. I mistakenly closed that. Okay, let me see. Okay. All right. So I want to quickly look at this also very simple list of headings. That is Cambridge IELTS 10 Test 3. Okay. List of headings is around page 65 or so on PDF. So in list of headings, the instructions and the list of headings come first. So you 20 minutes on question 1 to 13, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to consider the aspect that have list of headings, which is paragraph A to E only. Okay, so paragraph A to E only. It's very important to read the instruction because at times you might not need one of the paragraph at all to answer the question. So when you are skimming, you don't have to consider that for now. For that question type, you want to answer. I'll leave this for questions. Now, the whole thing is all about the context, meaning, and scope of tourism. This passage is very simple, honestly. So paragraph A has been done for us. They said it is the history of travel. I'll just quickly skim through again. Travel has existed since the beginning of time when primitive man, blah, blah, blah. So basically, travel has existed in the past, blah, blah, blah. That's majorly. Then they talked about history. That's where they got their answer from. So I'd like you to participate in this because I want to also point out two things to look at in topic sentences, which are you have to watch out for signposting and also watch out for subtopics, because all you need to make an heading is the main point, not many points, just one point. So paragraph B talk about tourism in the mass form as we know it today is a distinctly 20th century phenomenon. So this talked about something about the timing, the history, definition, what brought about it. Historians suggest it started blah, blah, blah. So that's just elaborating the point. In turn, international tourism became the concern of a number of what government says it is not only provided new blah, 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 okay? Tourism today has grown significantly in both economy and so, and I'm thinking this might be the main point. So what else have they said? In most industrialized over the past, blah, 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 one of the largest, no. So I just need to come to the last one. Does tourism has a profound impact? So still talking about impact and significance of tourism. D, however, so having talked about the good things about tourism, there is a problem that something has created. So the major problem of travel and tourism industry that have hidden or obscured is its economic impact. So the economic impact of tourism is hidden. Okay, obscured. Its economic impact are the diversity and fragmentation of the industry itself. Okay, and talked about the fragmentation. Let's say, however, the nature of this very diversity makes, so still talking about diversity of travel and the problem itself. So once the exclusive province of where the travel and tourism have become an institutionalized way of life for most of the population. So this one is saying it used to be a province, so don't be confused. Tourism used to be exclusively for the wealthy, but now most people all over the world can travel to wherever they want. Okay, so let's go to, and you can quickly read through economic and social significance of tourism, the development of mass tourism, travel for the wealthy, any foreign exchange, blah, blah, blah. You just read through them. So talking about paragraph B, which heading are you going to give paragraph B? So which topic heading are you going to give paragraph B? Tourism in the past, in the mass form as we know it today, is a distinctly 20th century phenomenon. Historians suggest, so I'll quickly say this is talking about history of tourism. Okay, now I'll go there. The development of mass tourism. Okay, travel for the wedding. So the only thing that looks like it is like this. So now, but because initially I'm thinking it is history, okay, which could also mean development. So I want to make sure I'm thinking well. So the growth led to the development of major industry, which is tourism. Okay. Now, for the sake, because this is not an exam situation, I'm not just wanted to, my aim is not just to quickly answer the question very quickly, is to make sure that people know that there are some certain elements in the passage that is not the main discourse of that paragraph. Now, tourism is in the mass form as we know it today is a distinctly, they talk about history here. Okay, now the creation of the commercial airline industry followed the Second World War and this because, why am I saying that? Because they talk about travel, they talk about the contribution of air travel to tourism. That is a subtopic. Don't forget, they talk about traveling force. They talked about how here, traveling by air has contributed immensely to what? To tourism. Now, this point tells us, affirm that it is not just about commercial airline. This paragraph is not about commercial airline. The growth in commercial airline has led to the development of a new industry, and that industry is tourism. In turn, international tourism became the concern of a number of world governments since provided blah, 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 blah. So what do you think the main point of this passage is, paragraph is talking about? Is it the development of mass tourism or the contribution of here to tourism? At least I think those are the
Development of mass tourism.
yeah. Why?
Because what they've said earlier on, the main idea is in that the last.
Right? The one highlighted. Okay, so the main,
Mention something about there's growth in.
yes. So the main idea is that is the development of a new industry. And all these points they've talked about is just is just a subset, it's just a supporting idea to how this new industry tourism has developed. Okay, so that is how last week I talked about like a big circle and a small circle. Okay, let me see if I can show you that. I know a lot of people have understood, can quickly identify the answer very quickly, but because this is a class, okay, I'm going to share this now, new share. So one thing to watch out for are subtopics or supporting idea as they were, okay? The subtopic as the name is usually a subset of the main idea. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So you ask yourself which one of the two can be used to explain the other further. That explanation is a subtopic. So this is the main idea, which is the development of tourism. And this was just the how commercial airlines have contributed to tourism. Okay, so all right, I'll move on again. We'll soon finish this.
Hello?
Yes, I'm with you. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so moving on to paragraph C. Paragraph C talked about tourism today has grown significantly in both economic and social importance. And then while I was reading the other time, I talked about profound impact. Tourism has a profound impact on the world economy. Okay, so very quickly, you can see this passage is not that confusing. What can be used to which heading? The economic and social significance of tourism. If you read every other thing in this place, it basically points back to how tourism has affected economics and our social life. Okay.
Is one.
Yeah, so that is one.
Economic and social significance
So
of
it can
tourism.
be, we've used this one. You can cross out the one we have used. So cross out the ones we have used. It's not about this, although they talk about foreign something there, but that's not it. So it's just about you recognizing the main point. Okay, so I'll move on to paragraph D. However, the major problem, let me increase the a bit. So, however, the major problems of the travel and tourism industry that have hidden or obscured its economic impact are the diversity and fragmentation of the industry itself. So, this place is talking about a major problem of tourism, okay, because of the diversity and fragmentation, okay. Now, however, the nature of this diversity makes travel and tourism blah, 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 blah. So let's see. Difficulty in recognizing the economic effect of tourism. What do you think it is? This place started by saying, however, paragraph C talk about the economic and social significance of tourism. This place says, however, the major problems of the travel and tourism industry that have hidden or obscured its economic impact are the diversity. So basically, this place is talking about
5. Difficulty
that is
in
5.
recognizing the economic effect of tourism.
Yes. Can we all mute ourselves, please? Okay, so the contribution, so this place, paragraph D, is the difficulty in recognizing the economic effect of tourism. All right, so and then paragraph E, once the exclusive province of the wealthy, travel and tourism have become an institutionalized way of life for most of the population. So once the exclusive province of the wealthy, so it used to be the wealthy alone that travels to different countries, visit another place, enjoy life and all that. But now it is now open to the whole world. Okay. In fact, this person suggests that tourism has become the largest commodity in international trade for many nations and for a significant blah, 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 okay? And whenever I see, for example, it's not really, the topic sentence is not there. It only affirms what they are talking about. So, however, because of problems of definition which directly affect statistical measurement, it is not possible with any degree of certainty to provide precise, valid, or reliable data about the extent of worldwide tourism participation or its economy. So, talking about tourism is now available to everybody. There is also a problem of definition due to its fragmentation. We can't really possibly the degree of certainty to provide the extent of worldwide tourism participation or its economic impact. Okay, in many cases, similar difficulties arise when attempts are made to measure domestic tourism. So which one talks about can we give? We've used this one, we've used this one, they've used this, no. Travel for the wedding, they just talked about that, but that can be, that's not the main heading. Earning, no. We've used this. Contribution, no. The world impact of tourism, yeah. So that leaves us with the world impact of tourism. Because apart from the fact that at least it is now global, okay, we all know it is now global. They also talked about the impact here. Yeah, economic impact and all that. But basically, it's not just because the word impact is here, but you can see tourism has become the largest commodity in international trade. This is talking about global, how it has blown, how it has become a global phenomenon. Okay. I think that brings us to the end of this list of headings as well. You can see this is quite straightforward. But one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to pick travel for the wedding in this place. You don't want to pick that. Likewise, you don't want to pick what was it the other time or the other one? I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So it's all about looking out for the main idea in the paragraph and check what represent that main idea in the paragraph. Okay, so that brings us to the end of, at least we've considered how to identify topic sentences. We looked at MCQ, we looked at yes, no, not given, we looked at list of headings and matching paragraph information, though we didn't explore that one very much. So I'm going to take our questions and answers now. And then if you have any question, any passage you have read that looks very complex and you think we can also talk about, you can suggest it. So I'm going to allow us to say one or two things now. Yeah. All right. Any question at all? Any question at all? Okay, someone Adwola Joseph is, yeah, do you want to tell us something? Okay, anybody with a question? Any question, please?
No question, sir.
Okay, yeah, we have don't forget that most of the passages we look at today, they are not really that complex. There are things that we can relate with, but there are passages in IELTS that when they are talking about the stars and the moon and you're wondering and you can't really relate at all, okay? So this is not to, it's just to walk us through how to pick the answers and then to apply the principle even when there are tougher and complex IELTS passages. But the truth is that there is nothing complex about IELTS. They just want to make it seem like that. The principle, whether you understand what they are talking about or not, the principles still remain the same. Just look for the main idea, paraphrase whatsoever question it is. Don't look for synonyms. Look for sentences that have the same meaning. You are looking for same meaning most of the time, okay? And for today, I think we need to reiterate that yes, no, not given, and true, false, not given are in order. Yeah, I think that wasted our time a bit. So that once you see answer to one, you definitely know that the answers to the other one are just below that. Very, very important. It saves time because they know that you can't spend the whole time looking for answers here and there. So they also make it in order. Very, very important that's a good take home for us today. Okay. So once again, to remind you that I deliberately didn't come up with one of those complex passages you will ever see in IELTS. And as you can see, even this is IELTS. The one we first consider is IELTS 15, so which is the recent one. Like the day I went in for my exam, I found out that it's not as difficult as we all thought. Okay, but I believe and I pray that that will be your experience. So that you coming out of that examination and you say, oh, it's not even as hard as we thought. Okay, that will be your experience. So just apply these tips, practice, practice, practice. I'm going to specifically make the video. I've made up my notes already. What we discussed last week about identifying topic sentences, making answers available knowing what the passage is saying very quickly. I'm going to make a video of that. I have my slides. I just have to have time to present it. Then I'm going to make the link available for us. All right, thank you for joining today. Since there is no question, we can call it a day. Thank you for joining. If in your practice you have any issue, just let us know. Point us to that passage. Let us think about how they arrive at their answer. Okay? God bless you. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
sir.
for the lecture. Thank you.
It was a great
Thank you
one.
so much, sir.
See you soon.
See you with
sir.
that fantastic result.
Hello, boss. Hello, lady boss.
Lady box. Baby box.
No lady box.
I want me to